Discover the truth. They're lying. Discover the truth. Oh, they lie. Better know who you are. Discover the truth. 'Cause the truth don't change. No, the truth don't change. It remains the same. Better know who you are. Discover the truth.
What's all this talk about being black and Indian? I'm half this, half that, you must be kidding. Original, we the first to do it. And all these other nations are just our children. Even the pale skin was made in our image. Read the book of Ruth and check out your lineage. It's the melanin that gives us a dark complexion. That's a gene, no color, color separation. The Willie Lynch.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for tuning in to the Think Tank Show. This is Sister Katrina Muhammad, your little Muslim sister. I want to thank my brother Sutton Bey as well as his wife, Sister Sonia, for giving me the opportunity to co-host the show. Today we're going to be talking about mental illness in the African American community. And it's important that we have this conversation because we're affected by mental illness in our community. And for whatever reason, people don't want to talk about it. People are ashamed of it, and in some cases, completely try to ignore the situation, which is only allowing a burning house to stay on fire. Why would we do that? Nothing is wrong with talking about mental illness. In fact, it's no different than any kind of other illnesses we may have. We talk about heart disease, we talk about high blood pressure, we talk about diabetes. Well, we should feel free to talk about mental illness without any kind of stigma or any type of ashamed feelings associated with that. And today I am so honored to have a guest on our show that is here to talk about mental illness, as well as her organization to combat mental illness and to bring more awareness, especially to black youth that are suffering from mental illness. So without further ado, please let's welcome Miss Tiffany Kelly. How are you, Miss Tiffany Kelly?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So we were talking before we came on air. The name of your organization is called Warmer Hearts. I like that name.
Thank you.
Let me ask you first, why did you choose that name, Warmer Hearts?
Warming Hearts came from.
Oh, excuse me, it's Warming Hearts?
Yes.
Thank you, Warming Hearts. Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted something to represent me. I've been told I'm always smiling. I always
Yes.
have such a warming smile and things like that. So, the original name I had for it, we've done away with that and came up with Warming Hearts. So it's something to represent how I feel and make other people feel.
I love that. So when I asked you about this organization, which, by the way, audience, is a 501c3, a nonprofit organization, that's important that you note that because we're going to be talking about some events that Ms. Kelly is going to be doing with Warming Hearts in the very, very near future. So please write that down and make note. Whenever you make a donation to a 501c3, know that it is a tax deduction. So this is why it's important that you make a notation that it's a 501c3. But this organization, you informed me, is about educating the youth about mental illness.
Yes.
And why do you feel passionate about educating the youth on mental illness? And by the way, family, you see the numbers popped up on the screen. We want to hear from you. Please call in if you are suffering from a mental illness or if you have anyone else in your family that has suffered from a mental illness and you want to share that with us and just have a conversation. We appreciate all of our viewers and callers, and we certainly look forward to talking to you. So please, please make a note of the number and give us a call because we do want to hear from you. So why educate the youth about mental illness? Why are you passionate about that?
After suffering from major depression myself and being hospitalized on different occasions and going through therapy, I look back at my childhood and I realized that my depression did not start from postpartum depression or something that went on in my life as an adult, but the different signs that I had learned about. And once I look back at my life, I noticed I started having signs probably in middle school age.
Okay.
And as I thought more and more about it, I said to myself, we as a black family, we never talk about mental illness. So I didn't know what mental illness was or what I was suffering. And so it just got me to realize that there could be other youth that is suffering from it or don't know exactly what it is that they're suffering from or what it is. So the best thing to do was to put myself out there, tell my story, and start to educate them so they wouldn't have to suffer the
Or
same
feel
thing.
alone. Right.
Correct.
That's probably the worst feeling, is feeling alone.
Yes.
I'm looking on this website, viewers, at mentalhealthamerica.net, and there's an interesting article that says Black and African American communities and mental health. They have some statistics, and I always love to give data in the shows to make very clear what we're dealing with. I think that really brings home the picture. So it says 13.2% of the United States population identifies as Black or African American. Of those, over 16% had a diagnosable mental illness in the past year, most recently, and that is over 6.8 million people. That's what we're talking about, 6.8 million people. And then it says more people than the population of Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia combined. Those three cities. That's what 6.8 million looks like. Oh. So you're not alone. And these other young people are not alone. We're talking about 6.8 members of the population, and that's just in the United States. We haven't even began to talk about outside of the United States, right?
Right.
But inside the United States suffer from a diagnosable mental illness. So you now believe that this started in middle school. What, may I ask, do you remember happened, or the symptoms, your thoughts? And the reason why I'm asking this is because we have audience members who are watching this show right now, and possibly even some children watching this show right now. And maybe they're going through what you've been through, but they don't know, and they don't really know how to identify it. So help us understand, now that you've educated yourself on mental illness, and you're able to reflect back to your childhood and say, I really think this started in middle school. How do you know that?
I remember my mom always telling me, you're going to sleep your life away.
Okay.
So I never understood. I just thought I was always tired. But one of the signs of depression is isolating yourself, which I did a lot, and just want to just sleep. I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to do anything. And I felt my best when I was asleep, and I didn't have anything else to worry about or think about.
Wow.
So
that's interesting, because with a young person, we might see them sleeping and we'll say, well, so-and-so, they're growing, and that's why they need to sleep.
Right.
But what you're saying is there is a such thing as oversleeping for youth, which is potentially a sign of mental illness.
Yes.
Okay. That's excellent. So you started this organization in 2016. You
Yes.
hit the ground running.
Yes.
You were like, I'm doing this. This is to educate youth about mental illness. And you did that because you yourself, you said, were diagnosed in 1998. And so because you dealt with it yourself, you wanted to help others. That's what motivated you.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm just thinking, you're a mom, you have family. When you were diagnosed and you told your family, what did they say? What was their response?
There wasn't really a good response behind that.
Now, did you wait a while before telling them, or did you tell them immediately once you were diagnosed?
Actually, my first suicide attempt happened while I was living with my mom, and I
Okay.
was married at the time. And my ex-husband had to take me to the hospital. So everything just happened all at one time. So I tried to take a overdose, and then when I finally did go to the hospital, they wouldn't let me out. So that was the first time of me ever hearing anything about depression. And at
Wow.
the time, I was 22.
Now, I think you told me they initially thought it was related to your pregnancy and the birth of your child,
Right.
postpartum.
Right. They said it was postpartum depression, and that I had been holding on to that for over 2 years because at that time my son was two by then.
Can you help educate us on the difference between depression and postpartum depression?
Um, I haven't, I mean, I don't have a license or anything,
Right.
but just from personal experience, people who suffer through postpartum depression, sometimes they have a hard time bonding with their child, or they start to feel like they're overwhelmed because this is new. But after about 6 months, you normally come out of that.
Okay. So so the fact that your child was two and they were saying that this was something you were holding on to,
Right.
that's a red flag because that's not necessarily normal,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. So how did you finally get the correct diagnosis?
Just
And that's really important, and the audience will probably understand that if you do have a medical issue and that you're not properly diagnosed, then it's almost impossible to get the right help, get the right medication when you haven't been properly diagnosed. So that's the first step. So, how did that happen?
just going to different therapists and psychiatrists,
Okay.
and I was finally diagnosed with major depression.
Okay, major depression. Now, because many diseases are hereditary, would you say that anyone in your family also suffers from major depression that you know of? Maybe that they have received treatment for, or maybe still have not received treatment for.
I do have my speculations that certain people do suffer from it, but to my knowledge, no one has ever went and been received therapy or anything like that.
They have not. Okay. So your family has been supportive now, would you say? I mean, now that it's 2017, we got how many years has gone by? I mean, a full decade, basically, almost. So, are they supportive now?
Some,
They
some
are.
are, yes,
Okay, actually, 2 decades. You said 1998. So,
yes,
wow. Okay, so you said some are supportive now.
yes,
Well, that's good. That's good. And your son, who you had just had at that time, was only two, is 20 years old now.
yes.
Okay. And how is he handling everything?
Most time he understand
Okay.
since I have been suffering for so long, and we have discussed it, and he has went to a couple of my therapy sessions with me as well. So he's supportive of it, and when I'm going through something, I'll let him know, I'm really not feeling well, and then he calls me so many times, and he'll call me like 5 times a day. I just want to tell you I love you, I love you, I love you.
Oh,
So
that's good. He's very supportive.
yes.
Okay. So I'm looking at some of my other notes, and let me see. You are participating in a breast cancer walk.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Um, I've been participating in a breast cancer walk for probably at least 10 years now.
Okay.
My grandmother is a breast cancer survivor,
Okay.
and that's what got me to start doing
That's
the
excellent.
walk.
Okay.
And then I had a coworker who was like a play mom to me. She passed around 3 to 4 years ago from her breast cancer. So we started a walk in her name the first year after she passed. And so now I'm walking for both of them
Oh, that's
as a group
wonderful.
with my organization.
That's wonderful. So if someone wants to, and that's what these shirts are, correct?
Yes.
If someone wants to purchase or support your organization and buy one of the shirts or register with you to go on the walk, right, which is going to be the River Walk, October 21st, correct?
Yes.
And the shirts are $15, so they can purchase the shirts online and also register for the walk.
They can register for the walk on Facebook. They can go to Warming Hearts page, and
Okay.
there is a link to register to go online. As far as the shirts, they could give me a call at 313-779-5298, and I can meet them or take the shirts to them.
Okay, that's excellent. And then your website or your email, in case people want to email you, is warminghearts2016 at gmail.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I like your cards, by the way. That's
Thank
really
you.
nice. So that's very important. Now you have some other events coming up, and can you tell us about that?
We're having a fundraiser September the 25th at Buffalo Wild Wings.
I like that place. It's a fun place.
September the 25th on 12 Mile and Mound. And if you get in touch with me, I can email it to you or meet you, or when you get there, just let me know you're there. You have to have a coupon and 15% of
And the
your
coupons
meal.
look like this, audience, just so you know. It's
Fif-
nice coupons.
And 15% of the your bill, excluding alcohol and a couple of other things, goes towards the foundation.
That's excellent. That is so great that they're supporting. So it's like a mixer,
Yes.
basically. Have some fun, eat some chicken wings.
Monday Night Football.
Monday night football. Oh, yes, and it's on a Monday night. Didn't think about that. That's perfect.
Yes.
That is perfect. So look, no excuses. The whole family. You could just bring everybody. Come on in. You get a discount, or all of your whatever you eat goes towards this organization, and it's towards a good cause. That's very, very important. So I'm so excited that you started this nonprofit. You're also looking for grant writers, right?
Yes.
And you're interested in grant writers that are going to help you write grants that are federal, state, and local.
Yes.
Okay. And you already have some grants that are in mind?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay.
All of the funding that we have right now, I have been doing little fundraisers to get money, so I haven't had
Like
any.
this one here.
Yes.
This one. Okay. Do you have another one lined up after this September 25th? Because there's September 25th, and then there's the walkathon October 21st with the shirts.
Right, right.
And then what's after that?
We have another what we call sip and shop, or yes, sip and shop. It's scheduled for April the 14th next year.
What is that? Sip and shop?
Yes.
Okay.
Or
What is that? That
snack.
sounds interesting.
Sip and shop or snack and shop. The very first one I did for the organization was last October.
Okay.
We had food. You bought a ticket for $10, and you
Okay.
had food and wine, and
Ooh.
you're able to walk around and look at the different vendors. So
Okay.
while you're sipping and you shop at the same time.
I think I can have some sparkling cider. I think that'd be okay for me. But shopping, you sold me on shopping.
Yes.
That was it. You didn't have to say anything else. Shopping, come on, I'm a girl. I love shopping.
Yes.
So where is this going to occur?
It's going to be.
It's a really great idea too, by
yeah,
the way.
we just had one last Sunday.
Okay.
We called that one a snack and
Now,
shop. So
a
you were
snack
able
and
to
shop. Love
eat.
snacking. Woo! I'm so glad I met you. Wait, sip and shop, snack and shop. Everything's about shopping. I
Shopping,
love it.
yes.
So wait, where did that take place?
That was at the Masonic Temple in Roseville,
Okay.
right across 696, right across from the Costco's.
So what was there?
We had over 25 different vendors
Oh,
selling.
the vendors. Okay.
Yes, so it's supporting small businesses and supporting us at the same time.
That is such a great idea.
Yes, we had Tupperware,
Now,
jewelry.
who provided the food, or what type of food was there?
We actually grilled this time. We grilled hot dogs and
Okay.
sold hot dogs and chips and drinks.
Okay.
Our previous one, which was in May, for Mother's Day, we actually had a friend of mine, her husband cooked all the food for us. We had meatballs and mashed potatoes
Oh,
and
that
stuff
was
like
nice.
that. So,
Okay,
yeah, it's
that's nice.
normally over 25 to 30 vendors, small
Okay.
businesses, and
And the vendors are vending directly with you,
um, some of
or are
them.
you collaborating these events with someone?
No, I put a flyer and everything together, and I
Okay.
put it out on Facebook, and then I ask other people if they know other vendors
So
that
they
want
can
to
support
come.
you by being
A
a
vendor,
vendor.
yes.
Okay, and how much does it cost to become a vendor?
The tables are normally $30.
$30. Oh, that is like very economical.
Yes, a lot of vendors say, "Well, I'm used to paying
At
$50."
least $50.
Yes, but I try to be reasonable, so they
That's
will come
nice.
back when we do another
Right. Oh,
one.
I know they love you. I know they love you indeed. Okay, so the next one is going to be a sip and shop, and it's going to be when and
It's
where.
April the 14th, and it will be at the
Okay.
Masonic Hall again,
April the
Masonic Templeton.
14th,
Yes.
Masonic. Okay. And that's where's that
That is in
located?
Roseville,
Roseville,
Michigan,
Michigan.
off of 696 in Gratiot.
All right. But if anyone wants information about this, they can email you at warminghearts2016 at gmail.com, or they can call you at 313-779-5298.
Yes.
So now with the organization, this is such a serious topic, and I'm glad that your fundraisers have been a lot of fun and very lighthearted. But have you dealt with some youth that have come to you at the events that you have, or just in your promotion of your organization, confiding in you to tell you that they too have depression, or that they think that they have depression? Has anyone come up to you and said that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
The last young person that I did sign up, uh, her mother stated that she believed that she suffers from mental illness. So we just had a discussion about what was going on with her, and I just told her, um, when people think that you have a mental illness, they try to say, "Oh, you're crazy."
Mm-hmm.
And I just, explained to her that that doesn't mean you're crazy. It's just like having
Yeah,
any
it's like
other
they say
type
you're
of beef.
crazy, and then they're just willing to dismiss and write the person off altogether.
Right.
Right.
So she didn't admit anything then. So I just wanted to open up to her, let her know that I suffer from a mental illness. I'm not crazy. That doesn't mean you're crazy. So just so when she's ready to get ready to talk, she will.
Okay. And she's about how old?
14.
14. Wow, that's very, very interesting. You're doing really good work
Thank
and
you.
really important work. And, as a teacher, I see things all the time with young people. And I'm so concerned because they're not getting the help that they need to get. In some cases, it's being ignored and dismissed, or maybe the parents have some shame and they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But they desperately need advocates like you and other organizations to fight on their behalf to bring that awareness to our community. Have you worked with any other organizations or partnered with any organizations specifically with regards to mental illness, or any other organizations?
No, not at this time. I have met a lot of people that have different organizations. One young lady, she has a organization where she's having an event on September the 23rd, and it's for young girls and to teach them about breast cancer and the right fit for bras and everything like that. So we have talked and we said we do want to do some things together in the future. So I've been making a lot of different connections, but we just have not yet like sat down and decided what we're going to do together.
So before we go to the break, I really want you to tell the audience, what do you want to see happen with this organization? What is your ultimate vision and ultimate goal for this organization?
My ultimate vision is to be able to get a building where that can be their safe haven.
Oh, excellent.
Um,
So like a shelter for young people?
no, just somewhere where when they're feeling bad and they could call and say, I need to come talk to you, and be able to come, teach them different things, I can't think of the word, different talents.
Right.
Because I've noticed when you do suffer from illness, sometimes when you have something to occupy your time with, it takes that away. So I want them to be able to come, even if they just want to come and read. It's just a place to run to get their
Love
mind
reading.
together.
How did you know I love reading? I brought a book for the week too. I love reading. I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for saying
You're
that.
welcome. Yeah. So
Because we
just
don't read enough.
right.
It's almost like the pleasure and the art of reading and getting into a good book. It's like gone.
Yes.
People are on their cell phones all the time or watching flat screens.
Yes.
And it's like, no, get a book.
Right.
Get a book.
Right.
Go to a library.
Right.
That used to be my favorite place as a child.
I used to love
I would just get
Borders.
lost in the aisles of books. I loved it.
Really?
Oh my God. I was reading probably like a book a week or maybe 2 books a week as a child. Loved it.
Okay.
Yes, I was a
Say,
nerd.
I love-
I'm a self-admitted nerd. Yes, I am. Don't talk about me, audience. Sutton Bay, I'm so glad he's not here because he'd talk about me. But yes, yeah, I love reading.
No, I loved math, and I would
Oh,
even
excellent.
sit up, and I used to just make up math problems in my head to try to figure them
Wow.
out. So I do understand.
Now, are you currently doing that as a profession?
No,
Really?
no.
Okay. What do you do as a profession?
I am a social worker.
Oh, that fits nicely in what you're doing. I could see the connection there.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Wow. Okay, well, look, we're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about warming hearts. So write down the phone number, call us, get your questions together, because I know you want to talk to Miss Kelly. She's a great conversationalist. She has a lot of information, and you never know. You might get a positive word from her today that will allow you to help someone in the very near future. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked. We'll be right back.
Dion Television.
I'm phased up, illuminated. I see you watching, I know you hate it. We done woke up, re-educated off of Juali's demonstration. A new nation, come of age, a long way high from them slavery days. Let my people in before we kick the door. Had them up T's coming with the swords. We born more, reduce the black, lace my boots up, cause I ain't having that. Call me a citizen, no, I'm a national. King Kendrick Seal, they calling me a radical, cause I'm outside the box and I ain't looking in. I be my riff knocked out, gray shadowed in, Europeanized mindset hammered in. The great fall of the Moor man, I was on my square, on my 5, consciousness on overdrive, mind state on high, praise Allah that I'm alive, awake from the grave in the sea full of lies. I come to claim it's mine, so step back. It's that time, it's the return of the Moors, return of the Moors, return of the Moors. It's the return of the Moors, return of the Moors, return of the Moors.
I rise above the murky thesis of the flesh. I give praises to Allah, cause every day I'm blessed. I'm being tested daily, living amongst the shady. At night I gotta pray, if not the streets will drive me crazy. I'm keeping things in a bounds of moderation. Being locked up taught me to practice patience. Every year I'm trying to see another more celebration. I once was in the dark, but now I like a facing. I thank Parker Bay for all the faithful demonstrations. We know death is a friend, so ain't no escaping. Islam means peace. I'm surviving in the streets. Too many years in prison, so now I had to seek. I got a conflicting soul, but now my soul is meek. I got the gift, honest to the noble Drew Ali. He opened my eyes, so now I plainly see.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the Think Tank Show. Thank you for keeping us locked in. My name is Sister Katrina Muhammad, your little Muslim sister, and I'm here with this fantastic, wonderful woman doing dynamic things in the city of Detroit and the metro area, Miss Tiffany Kelly, who has an organization called The Warming Hearts. It's an organization for young people to help alert them and educate them about mental illness. And we've been having an excellent conversation about mental illness. I shared some information and data from a website that said 6.8 million black people in this country suffer from diagnosis or has been diagnosed with some form of mental illness. I want to read this quick quote to you from this website called mentalhealthamerica.com, .net. It says, historically, adversity, which includes slavery, sharecropping, and race-based exclusion from health, educational, social, and economic resources, translates into socio-economic disparities experienced by African Americans today. Socioeconomic status, in turn, is linked to mental health. Let me say that again. Socioeconomic status, in turn, is linked to mental health. People who are impoverished, homeless, incarcerated, or have substance abuse problems are at higher risk for poor mental health. It says, despite progress made over the years, because it's now 2017, and some people are like the Jeffersons, we've made it, right?
Right.
Okay. It says, despite progress made over the years, racism continues to have an impact on the mental health of black African Americans. Negative stereotypes and attitudes of rejection have decreased but continue to occur with measurable adverse consequences. Historical and contemporary instances of negative treatment have led to a mistrust of authorities, many of whom are not seen as having the best interests of blacks or African Americans in mind. And when I read this, I'm thinking, the first thing that I thought of when I read that was St. Louis. And most recently, our viewers might be aware of a black man that was killed in St. Louis 2-3 years ago. This has been in trial for now all this entire time. He was killed by a police officer who indicated that the young man was reaching for his gun or a gun in the car. However, what's wonderful is forensic science. You got to love forensic science because they tested the gun. And when they tested the gun, they found that it only had the police officer's DNA on the gun. Wow. And not the black man who was shot and killed. So if this happened to be his gun, why wasn't any of his DNA present on this gun? And so we can talk about Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland. We can go on and on and on listing the names of black victims that we've seen, in some cases, killed live on Facebook Live. Yes. The one young man and with his girlfriend, or I believe it was his wife, with his baby in the back seat by a police officer, point blank, shot in the chest. This young man here who was killed and by the way, they're calling it a kill shot because the evidence showed that he was killed with the gun no further than 6 inches from him.
Wow.
6 inches. 6 inches would equate to the length of this microphone. That's how close this gun was to the black man who was killed in St. Louis. That's considered a kill shot. Why is someone dead by the police with a gunshot that was only 6 inches from them? What is that about? So we're looking at all of this. Our children are looking at all of this on TV.
Yes.
Babies are looking at this on TV. And we're recording this in our mind, in our DNA. This is not something that we just see these reports and it's like, oh, okay, another black man is dead or shot, killed. Oh, well, it happens. No, that's not what's happening. We're internalizing this pain.
Yes.
And then we just read the article that talked about how poverty, socioeconomic conditions can help exacerbate mental illness. So if you're homeless, poor, not eating, can't put any clothes on your back, just struggling
Yes.
how that can create an impact and create mental illness in our community. So I read that, Miss Kelly. I mean, you could tell me how you feel about it, but I read that and I see that our solution is not just in getting medication.
No.
Our solution has got to be changing our condition. It has to be there. Because if the social economic conditions of a person can affect the mind to the point that it pulls the person down in the depths of depression to the point where they want to end their life. And we have a greater number of young people doing this
Yes.
than before. This is not coincidental. This is not by happenstance. This is happening because of the condition of our environment, of our community. So something has to be done. And it's not just coming from the medical industry in terms of take this pill,
Right.
take this medication, take this prescription, you'll be all right. I'll see you in 30 days. It's got to be more than that. Do you talk to, and have you considered talking to your young people that you encounter, and just really all people, about what this article has talked about? That mental illness essentially is caused not just through heredity, but through the social economic conditions of our people. I mean, we're suffering.
Yes.
Have you spoken with them about that or any others about addressing that?
Well, in the past, what we've been doing is when we have meetings, we take different topics and we just discuss those particular topics. This month, our topic is about bullying. And so each.
That's major.
Yes.
I mean, because who can say they grew up and never got bullied, right?
Right.
Everybody has experienced bullyism. But the bully factor is like times 10 now because you have social media.
Yes.
I mean, I've heard of cases where, and I don't know if this was a black girl, I believe it was a Caucasian girl, but these girls teased her so bad on social media, her mom found her in the closet. She had hung herself. I mean, terrible.
Yes.
They went on her Facebook page or they posted a bunch of stuff about her. And this girl was so depressed and so upset. 16, I believe she was. She took her life over that.
Yes.
So what can we do about bullyism?
And that's the thing. When I talk with them, I like to hear their feedback. I like not to talk to them, but talk with them.
With them.
So they can give me feedback on what do they think can be done. How do they think that they can help when they see someone else that's being bullied? Will you speak up for them, or would you let someone else know not to be scared? Because a lot of times now, children and adults as well, they're afraid to help someone because you never know what's going to happen. Because there's been plenty of times when people try to help someone, then their life end up getting taken away. So it's just
Or legal troubles.
yes.
Yeah.
So we just come up with different solutions of how we can help someone else without, say, getting into putting ourselves in a predicament that we don't want to be in, but still at the same time helping someone else at the same time.
Helping them. Okay, I was trying to look up the young man. I was going to give everyone the name of the young man, but I don't have that right now that I was talking about in St. Louis. So, socioeconomic problems. The next time you have an event, are you doing a panel discussion on some of these issues with regards to the prevalence of depression and mental illness in our community? And are you focused just on the Detroit area or just in general in the black community, wherever that person may be?
Just in general.
In general.
Because I don't stay in the city, but I do know a lot of people that's in the city, and I did grow up in the city. So, and a lot of the youth that I have, a lot of them grew up in the city but are no longer in the city. But it's in general because all children deal with different problems and different things. So um, it's open to everybody. But I
Okay.
would love to schedule a forum and have discussions and things like that.
That would be so great because I really want us to deal with these sagging pants. I don't know if that's a mental illness problem, but I would like to deal with that.
Oh,
I would like to deal with the divorce in our community. Just all the relationship problems we're having in the black community. Because honestly, I believe we can't get stronger as a family or as a people, unless we get stronger black families.
yes.
And we can't have stronger black families if we have one or two members, both members, or however many members in the family that are suffering from mental illness and they have not gotten help.
Right.
So, yes, we need to have a conversation, a town hall meeting, and invite everybody to come in and have a panel discussion because I think we're suffering from mental illness, depression, and things like that, bipolarism, things like that, at a much greater percent or level than people would care to admit.
Yes.
That we really, again, we can't get any help unless we first admit we have the problem.
And that's the focus that I have with the youth that I have now, because my thought was it's a lot of children, a lot of youth that are suffering, but they're scared to say anything to anybody. They don't want their friends to look at them differently, or they just don't know how to get the help.
Right.
So if I'm teaching others to look out for warning signs in their friends, and then a lot of youth are not comfortable with talking with an adult, but
Right.
they'll be comfortable enough to talk to their friends. So my purpose was, if I teach you, then you know what to look out for. And if you see your friend going down this road, then you can talk with them and say,
And
hey,
help them out.
right, I'll go with you. You know,
And again, the warning signs would be, you mentioned earlier, isolation and sleep,
yes.
right?
Don't.
Oversleeping. Are there any others?
They have this new thing that's called picking.
Okay.
Where it's cutting. So when you think that something is inside of you and you can't get it out, you may just sit and just pick. Not that you're trying to cut yourself and kill yourself, but you may just take something and because you're trying to get that out of you.
Wow. And would substance abuse also be
Substance
a warning
abuse,
sign?
yes.
Would promiscuity be a warning sign as well? Loose sexual behavior,
Yes,
warning
eating
signs,
disorders.
eating disorders, all of
Yes,
that are warning
yes.
signs. This article, I'm going to conclude because we're almost done here, and I want to get your opinion. It says the prevalence, according to the United States HHS Office of Minority Health, it says adult black African Americans are 20% more likely to report serious psychological stress than adult whites. It says adult black African Americans living below poverty are 3 times more likely to report serious psychological distress than those living above poverty. That black African Americans, adult black African Americans, are more likely to have feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and worthlessness than are adult whites. I mean, that word worthlessness just pierced my heart, because that deals with you loving yourself, loving your black skin, loving your black hair, loving your black features, to feel worthless. You yourself feel worthless. That's just so hurtful. And then the last one, it says, and while black African Americans are less likely than white people to die from suicide as teenagers, black African American teenagers are more likely to attempt suicide than white teenagers. In fact, 8.3% versus 6.2%. So when we look just percentage wise, we're at a higher rate. Why do you think black teenagers are attempting suicide more than white teenagers? Why do you think that's happening?
I believe just because first they're not educated that there is help out there, They don't know how to express it. That's because we don't talk about it, so they don't know what they're feeling is something that could be normal, but that they can be helped with it because of a majority of our social background, our economics, all of those things
All those
together.
things, the
And
stigma.
yes.
This article deals with that. It says black African Americans of all ages are more likely to be victims of serious violent crime than are non Hispanic whites, making them more likely to meet the diagnostic criteria for post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Black African Americans are also twice as likely as non Hispanic whites to be diagnosed with schizophrenia. And it says the attitudes of black African Americans, they hold beliefs related to stigma. That's what you were just talking about. Psychological openness and the help seeking, in which turn affects their coping behaviors. Generally speaking, the participants in the study were not very open to acknowledging psychological problems, but they were somewhat open to seek mental health services. It says 30% of participants reported having a mental illness or receiving treatment for mental illness. And then with regards to men, and we'll end it on this one, black African American men are particularly concerned about stigma. And so, with regards to you and your organization trying to bring awareness to youth, have you noticed more black females or just females coming forward than men?
Most definitely.
Most definitely?
Yes.
Okay. And so, this is kind of the same thing how men don't go to the doctor
Correct.
and other things like that, not getting the help, not going to get their prostate checked. I'm talking about my father who's watching this show who eventually did go get his prostate checked, but by then he was diagnosed with prostate cancer stage 3. So you know I was very upset with him.
Yes.
And I said, if it wasn't for your prostate cancer, I'd probably strangle you right now. So I love you. I'm your daughter. I guess I can't strangle you. I got to help you through this disease and help you get healthy, which I've done that. He's now healthy, no prostate cancer. He had all his radiation treatments, all that stuff. But I cannot tell you how many years I was asking him to go get checkups, go to the doctor. So this message, this statement right here is for all the African American men, black men watching this program right now. If you love someone in your life, your children, your mother, your sisters, your wife, you know, your boo, your baby mama, I don't care who. You love someone. If you love yourself, if you love your pet, your dog, your cat, you have some fish, I don't care. If you love them, then go to the doctor. Go get some help. Go take care of yourself, because people love you. They want to see you around. And if you're not going to get diagnosed, you're not going to the doctor to get the help like we've talked about in this show, then that's step one. No one can help you if it's not diagnosed. So you have to go. And this includes mental illness. Go get help. We know you're scared, but you should be scared of not knowing. That's what you should be scared about, right?
Yes.
Not knowing, doing certain things, not knowing why you're doing those things. They're destructive. They're hurtful to you, to your family, to your loved ones, and you don't even know. You're just out there trying to figure it out. We have a caller. Let's end with this caller. We have a couple more minutes. Caller, thank you for calling the Think Tank Show. My name is Sister Katrina Muhammad. Tell us, where are you calling from?
Detroit. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, thank you for
I
calling.
was wondering, what's the difference between learned behavior and mental illness? Because what you described throughout the show sounds like it can be also learned behavior.
And be
although
specific.
It's diagnosed as mental illness.
Be specific on some of the things you're talking about.
Well, pretty much everything you've said.
You're talking about the
behavior,
isolation.
Dysfunctional behavior.
Oh, all the dysfunctional behavior. So the substance
Yes,
abuse.
because some families actually operate like that. You know, they have dysfunction in the family, and it's really a learned behavior more so than illness.
So you want to know what's the difference between. Stay on the line, caller. Don't hang up. Miss Kelly, do you want to address that? This caller is saying this promiscuity and loose sexual behavior, this substance abuse, all those kind of things, overeating. Is that just learned behavior? How do we know that that's mental illness? Because if they saw mama do it and grandma do it or dad do it or uncle do it or brother do it, could it just be they're just, following what
The
they
lifestyle, yeah.
the lifestyle? Could it be that? Or is it in fact mental illness?
Well, because I am not a licensed psychiatrist or practicing social worker with a
Right.
license, I don't want to say what it could or couldn't be. But looking and watching things, when you suffer from a mental illness, it's more than just one particular thing. It's a combination of a lot of things. So when you see a person that's used to being one way all the time and then all of a sudden they just stop being their self and they start to, let's just say they're a social butterfly. They're
Right.
always at every party or they're always outgoing and then all of a sudden they don't want to go outside the house. Then you notice there's something wrong there. Then they're starting to show a difference in their behavior. So then that's when you want to talk to them or try to get them the help that they
And
need.
that's what happened to you when you were an adolescent,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay. And so, did you understand that caller, what she's saying in terms of someone all of a sudden acting totally different, presenting, these symptoms, all of a sudden out of nowhere, that is a red flag and a sign? Did you understand that part?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do understand what you're saying. But if we think about it, caller, and what is your name, caller?
My name is Tony.
Tony, okay. Brother Tony, if you think about it, I mean, substance abuse problems, overeating, promiscuity, constant sleeping, not, lethargic, not getting out and accomplishing things. I mean, whether it's learned behavior or not, that's a problem. That's an illness. Would you agree?
Yes.
That's a,
But, okay. And I can show you a block in my neighborhood where the whole block is mentally ill then, because that's
Yes, they
exactly
are.
let's go.
yes, they are. I mean, that's where I'm
That's
coming
what I
from.
said.
I mean, this
Should
is
it be a
not
learned behavior? Because everybody can't be mentally ill. It's got to be a learned behavior.
right. I mean, they may have learned it, but at the same time, it's still all an illness because that is not normal. That is not healthy. That is not advantageous to the success of an individual. And so, if someone is doing that and living like that, then yes, they do have an illness. They really do.
Yes.
And
Relations. No,
and they need help.
And it's not to
it's
say
a
that
urban lifestyle.
Exactly.
and it's not to say that
Okay,
everybody
thank you
that
for taking my
suffers.
call. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Brother Tony. Thank you. Something like
All
that.
right.
I just want to say it's not to say that everybody that suffers with a mental illness has to be on medication or anything. Sometimes you just need therapy, somebody that's sitting there to talk with you to understand what you're feeling. You just want your feelings to go out without being judged because I could sit and talk to my girlfriends all day long about what's going on, but they're going to say what I want them
Yeah,
to
and they're
hear.
not equipped to handle that.
Right.
You know, they're
So,
not professionals.
right.
There's something that we've become certified in the mosque, and it's called auditing. And it's through L. Ron Hubbard, and you all can look this up yourself. But if you're interested in getting audited and getting some help, which is a form of therapy where someone is sitting there just talking with you and helping you work out your issues, you can come to 14880 Wyoming. This is at Muhammad Mosque number 1. There's an auditing department there. I am an auditor. I just haven't done it in a long time, so I haven't taken on any new patients, any new clients. But it is very effective. I've had it myself, and I had to work through my own issues. And And let me tell you, I felt 1,000 times better. I am a supporter of counseling. I think that before we get married, we should have premarital counseling. And while we're in the marriage, we should have counseling. That when your children go through traumatic events, you should definitely get counseling for them. I mean, I am a supporter of counseling. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, as well as, you know, some of the other things we talked about in terms of taking medication. Sometimes you do just need to talk to somebody about the problems you're having.
Yes.
Exactly. So we're about to wrap up here. I want to thank you, Miss Kelly, so
Thank
much.
you.
I really appreciate you being on the show. So
Thank you.
please make sure you call her at 313-779-5298. You can also send Miss Kelly an email at warminghearts2016@gmail.com. And then the Facebook page is
Warming Hearts.
Warming Hearts, and that's where they can register for the breast cancer walk, right?
yes.
And also inform you that they want to buy one of these lovely T-shirts.
Yes.
Awesome. So look, the book of the week is How White Folks Got So Rich. We need to talk about this,
Yeah.
because this didn't just happen in a vacuum in terms of them making a lot of money and becoming millionaires and billionaires. It happened in a systematic approach. Now, this was the untold story of American white supremacy, and it's the updated version. This was put together by the research team in the Nation of Islam. The minister has a research team, and I mean, when you read it, it's a small little book. It's only about 178 pages, but I mean, they go through different court cases. I mean, black tax, Social Security and pensions, unemployment insurance, minimum wage law. I mean, it is very, very thorough. So I guess you didn't think a little book like this could be that thorough, but let me tell you, it is power-packed with information of helping explain to you where all the wealth went and why we don't have any. So please join us next week. You can get this on thefinalcall.com, by the way. Please join us next week, Friday, for the Think Tank. Thank you so much for joining us. May God bless you all week long. Stay tuned. We got another program coming up. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.